When did you told us the story about getting the needle for your mother? When did that happen?
Oh, God. um, well, as I said, don't, I can't tell the stories in sequence. I don't know what followed what, but I must have been old enough to be sent out by my mother to run an errand, and she was busy sewing. She had learned the tailor's trade, as had her two sisters. Um, Her parents wanted the three girls to be able to do tailoring so that if there were bad times economically that they could help out and help their future husbands with income of their own. And so my mother knew how to sew and tailor, and here she was busy doing something, and she needed a needle that she had broken, a needle for the sewing machine, which she had. And it was one of those that hand and foot operated. Do you know the ones that with the board going up and down with foot operated? Yes. She had one of those and she needed a needle, so she sent me out. And she said, now you know where this little department store is. And yes, I told her I knew. So she says, now here's the money. And you put the money in your hand and you close your fingers over the money and don't open it until you get there. And you go and you ask. And so off I went, and of course I would do everything running. I would never walk. And I found the place, and I got in, and I remember stepping up to the counter, and a young woman asked, and I told her I wanted a machine needle. And, oh yeah, fine, here it is, and how much does it cost? And I opened my hands and I plunked the money on the counter. And she said, well, you could hurt yourself, so I'm going to stick it into a piece of paper and you hold it by the paper so that you won't hurt yourself. And off I ran, and it was evening, it was in the dark, and I came home and bounded up the 4 floors and knocked on the door, said to my mother, here I am, and here it is. And she says, where is it? And I said, here in my hand. And I opened my hand, and there was nothing there. He says, where is it? And I said, well, I kept mine. Well, you lost it, she said. Well, here's more money. I have to send you a second time. So off I went, running back a second time, and the young woman recognized me immediately, and said I need a needle, and somehow I didn't get home with it. And second needle, and she says, well, I'll put it into a piece of paper again, but I'll poke it through a couple of times. I was threaded through. So I did that, and she says, now don't open your hand, just keep it closed. And I remember just clutching it. And back I ran home again and up the 4 floors. And my mother said, where is it? And I opened my hand, and there was no needle. Now, it still never occurred to my mother to take matters in her own hand, so she actually told me to go a third time. And I did. And she says, now, I have no recollection that she got mad at me, but admonished me and says, now look, here's the money. I never lost the money. The money was always there when I got to the department store. And I could feel the money. So I went a third time. The young salesgirl couldn't believe it. She says, what are we going to do? I says, well, my mother tells me I had to try again and for sure bring it home. And, well, need I say it, I went home and there was no needle. 3 times. That's when the nickel dropped and my mother said, I have to go myself. I remember standing there and saying to her, now, okay, you go and I'll stay home. And I didn't like it. I didn't like to be alone in the apartment. But I said, no, if you have to, I'll go. She wouldn't take me. I guess I was bad news. So she went. And I said to her, as she left, I said, now you just watch. When you come back, there's going to be no needle. Now she says, we'll see. And she came back, and I was just jumping from one foot on the other. And the door opens, and in she comes, and I said, oh, I was just beaming all over. I was ready for the news. And so I said, where's the needle? Oh, she says, here it is. And there she was, and she had the needle. And I was dumbfounded. So I don't know. How old do you think I could have been? Because my mother had no compunction sending me out on errands, but maybe I was between 3 and 4. I was quite young, I know that. But even if I was 5, I'm not certain at all. But with that kind of a record, I suppose I must have been quite young. So, yeah, that was one of those.